On August 28, 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he led a march with several 100,000 people, and it was a huge moment in history. It was an event that took place in order to gain momentum for the civil rights movement. Now, in June of 2005, Steve Jobs and Apple held one of the very first technology launches for Apple computers, for Apple, the company, which is now a multiple billion, trillion-dollar organization. And it was an event that was there to launch a product to gain momentum and build a business. On the flip side of those large events and those very historic events, in June of 2011, on a personal note, I was fresh out of college, getting my first job that was starting off my career. And I saw in a very real world example how a small local conference for a smaller company that still had teams maybe in different states around the United States, but it was a very important event where everybody from around the United States got together in order to focus on company culture, professional development, and training in order to be good at their jobs. I attended that conference and I got to see a very real impact on what an event can have on a smaller business. And then on the personal side, again, on June 28th, 2014, that date might not mean anything to you. Maybe it does, but that's the date that my wife and I got married. And I remember I have this very real, I still get chills thinking about it, how I was standing at the altar of this church and my wife was behind these doors. The doors open, light was flooding in behind her. The music was just the perfect moment. And there was just this sense of, I can't believe that I'm here. And I'm so excited to get married to this amazing woman. And then afterwards, when we celebrated at our wedding reception, there were small things that we had done to prepare beforehand. And then there were some small things that we didn't prepare for that made the event awesome. I remember people standing around, there were my aunt and uncle, my fraternity brothers, friends from work, other long family on that I had only met maybe once before in my life because they were on my wife's side, and everyone was locked arms singing Piano Man at the top of their lungs because it's a tradition from the fraternity that I was in. So events, as you can tell, are a big deal to me. And if you're listening to Creating Great Events, it means that events are a big deal to you. Now, events are going to be a part of life, whether we want it to or not. There are everyday events, small things like getting together with your family and having breakfast. Those aren't necessarily the events that I'm going to be focusing upon, that we aren't going to be focusing upon in this show of Creating Great Events. We're going to be focusing on a little bit larger events. So maybe they're once a month events. They could be a regular team meeting or a regular company town hall, or once a year events, or once in a life events. And why are events important? Well, as you can tell from the examples, Dr. King and the civil rights leaders, they could have just put out a radio broadcast or written an article, but it wouldn't have gained the same momentum. So events can start movements. Events can make memories. Events should be used to create momentum, and events should be used to change lives and make the world a better place. They are great for brands. They are great for building businesses. They are great for your audience and your guests to help them live and lead a better life. Now, events that are done poorly can be terrible for guests. They can be terrible for your brand. Look at a fire festival and things like that, right? And so if you want to build a business, if you want to build a brand, if you want to create a momentum, we need to focus on the right way and how to create great events, which is exactly why this show is named that. So now a couple of things that I know that events are hard work. I know that events are stressful and they take a ton of time, energy, money, and effort, attention, details, organization. And events are the sum of 1,000 small decisions, 1,000 small things, 1,000 small moments put together make one event. And if those small things are excellent, if those small things are planned right, if those small things are done the right way, then we can have a great event. Now, I mentioned that events are stressful. I know that. I've got a long career even before my professional career, my family, we would prepare on the weekends and we would have everybody over on the lake in order to come and celebrate either the 4th of July or Labor Day weekend or things like that. We would go out on the boat and go tubing and go wakeboarding. We would cook food. And there was a lot of preparation that went into that. We had to clean the boats, gas the boats. We had to clean the house, clean up the yard, get the food ready, all these kinds of things. And so with all of these things, I've got that experience personally, but then also professionally, I've been doing this for 12 years. So I know that events can be stressful. And I know that if you're listening to the show, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a full-time event planner. Maybe you came just for this one video or for one episode in order to get a certain piece of knowledge to make your event better, and that's okay. The goal of this entire show is to help make your events better, regardless of if you're a professional event planner or if you have a full-time job and you're just doing this on the side, or maybe it's just something that someone asked you to do. Like my wife and I, we just helped our daughter celebrate her 6th birthday with a birthday party. And it was like the morning of, we were getting ready to load everything up and take it to the neighborhood pool. And my wife was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be an event planner. And I'm like, that's okay. You don't have to be an event planner beyond today. We got to help out today. And whereas her stress level was pretty high, mine, because my experience was pretty low, simply because of my background. So maybe your background allows your stress level to be low, or it's going to be a little bit higher. And so the goal of this show is to help make it a little bit lower by providing you with stories and tools and tactics and tips in order to make it better. So if you do have a full-time job, maybe you're an entrepreneur, or you're an executive assistant, or you're a marketing manager. And so your job description doesn't really include events, but events are very important to maybe your company. Maybe you're an HR professional. You've been asked to help the tech team put on an event in order to launch this new system that they have, right? So if you are doing this full time, or if you're not doing this full time, you're still probably worried about the same things, because everyone wants their event to be successful. You want to create memorable experiences that help people either remember fondly, like, hey, this was an amazing birthday party, and friendships are better because of it. Or maybe this was an amazing product launch and sales numbers are better because of it. Regardless of why you want it to be done, you want it to be done right. You want it to be excellent. You want people to enjoy themselves, and you want to do it without going over budget. You want people to show up and to feel comfortable, to know what to expect. Maybe you're worried that your event isn't going to go great, or you're not thinking of everything. If these are some of the things going through your mind, then you're in the right place, because I know that you also have limited time. Maybe you've got a ton of experience and you are a professional event planner listening to this show, watching this show, and you've got a bunch of experience, but you're just looking for some small ideas or nuggets of wisdom that you haven't thought of before, because you have that growth mindset. You're a lifelong learner. Well, just like everything else in life, there are small things that can make a huge difference, right? If you've ever been on a Zoom call and you've toggled one of the small settings beforehand, or if you've adjusted maybe your camera to a different height, or if you are in the kitchen and you're making a cake, a small amount of salt, either if you put too much salt or too little salt, the recipe could go completely wrong, right? Well, I know that there are small things that can make a huge difference in your event, and that's what this show exists to help you with. So with events, I've talked about it. They can be complicated, they can be stressful, but they shouldn't be. So creating great events, this show exists to help make planning painless and your events engaging. Because I personally believe, we believe here at Creating Great Events, that boring events, they suck. Who wants to go to a boring event? I don't want to go to a boring event. Nobody wants to go to a boring event. You're going to tune out. You're going to be checking Instagram. You're going to do something other than being at the event. I also know about events disorganization is distracting. And there are small ways to organize that gives your event purpose, that helps you with your planning. And I know that preparation is key. All of these things together are key if you want to have a great event. Now, I personally have a non-traditional events background. I've got my personal side, and then I got a degree in education, and then I got a career in helping schools plan and produce events. And then that was for about 5 years. And I even led a whole team, a whole city doing that. And then for 6.5 years, I spent my professional career helping nonprofits for-profits and schools all do it at an event planning agency. And then my current career, I'm working on a couple of side entrepreneurial things in the event space. But even today, I'm helping with marketing using events as a tactic and a strategy, specifically for C-suite leaders at the time of this recording. So my background, while it's a non-traditional, I didn't go to school for hospitality. I didn't go to school for event planning, but I've got a ton of experience in it from, we'll call it the school of hard knocks, right? So in my career, to the best of my knowledge, I've physically have a spreadsheet where I have had to calculate some that I just can't remember how many I did in this 1 year, but I made a best guess estimate that in my career, I've helped produce over 625 different events, plan, produce, and host over 625 events. So I've been a part of the team creating the event. And together collectively, that's over 185,000 different attendees in 82 different cities with 78 different organizations. And that's at a minimum. That's probably on the smaller side. So with this show, from my experience, as well as from the guests that I'm going to be bringing on, you can expect tips for your events. So tips to make your event better. You can expect tools to learn from. So like, what are AI tools? What are event planning tools? What are live streaming tools or event production tools? And then what are some of the tactics? What are strategies and practical things that you can be doing? And the guests and myself, if I bring on a guest, it's because they are a professional in their field. They could be a professional at a venue, professional event planner, professional rental company. Regardless of who they are, the goal is going to be the same, is to help you create a great event.